Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production. Today I'm going to show you how you can use MStereoprocessor not just for some stereo stuff, but just to in general enhance your mix. I think a lot of people don't really think about this plugin so often, and they think of it just as something that can maybe widen your stereo field, but it can actually do a lot of things. It's really good on a final mix for checking your mix, number one, but also for just doing some slight improvements and making everything sound better. So let's get into it. I'll put it here on the master track, but you could put it on an individual track or individual tracks if you wanted. It's for instruments. So we have MStereoprocessor. It looks like this. I'll put it right here before my limiter. And so let's listen to this with nothing on. It's not really doing too much. I have a analog crossover, but it shouldn't sound too different. Actually, I'll put it here so you can just hear it on and off. So it's not really a difference. If you don't like the analog crossover, you have linear phase too, if you feel there's a problem in your track. But let's look at some of the things it can do. Of course, you have here the input, you have the panorama, so you can shift it to one side. I probably wouldn't want to do that on a mix, but you might want to do that for a specific track if you have instruments. We have widening here. We can make it wider, or we can move it down to mono if we want. And we have an exciter. So this is really good. For this, I don't want to use the widening on the whole thing. We're going to use these different parts here. So what this does is it splits your signal into different bands here. So we have the lowest one here, middle, and upper mids, and high mids. So I don't really like the way these are set by default. So I'm going to move this down, maybe like 150, a little bit under 150. This one, the low mids are going here to like 2000 hertz. I don't want that. I'm going to move it to maybe around a little bit under 1000 hertz. And let's move this down to like 5000 hertz. So our treble's there. Now, one of the really cool things we can do about this is since they're split up here, we can solo each band and listen to it like this. Now, what this will do is it'll let us listen to just certain parts of the signal here and adjust them. So for this bass, I don't want any stereo information. If I solo it, you can look at the stereo here. If it's a simple vertical line, that means there's no stereo information. If it's a horizontal line, it means you're getting all stereo, and that's probably not good. But let's take a look at it. For the most part, it's mono, but there is a little bit here. So if we want to get rid of that, we can just move the widening down like this. Okay, and of course you can bypass it to go back and forth between it to make sure you're doing something. In this case, it's not too bad, but in some cases you might have some phasiness, and this can help get rid of that if you notice, like, oh, okay, my bass is in mono. So that's good. Now let's look at the low mids. Now I could do something here. You can also switch the panorama. For this, I don't want to do that, but maybe if I had a pad or something, I might want to. We can do some widening, we can adjust the width, we can use an exciter here, but for my low mids, I don't really want too much of that. I think there's enough low mids here. I think it's actually a little bit muddy, so I don't want to adjust anything there. So let's move on to the high mids. Okay, now we can do a little bit here if we want. One thing I might do is, you see this delay here? We can do some stereo widening here by adjusting the delay width. So at default, it's going to do some widening, or actually do no widening because it's 0%. But this is the delay amount, and we can make this a little bit wider by increasing the delay width like this. And to check it and just see, over here on the side, you see the width meter. So you can see it like this. There we go. You don't have to do that. To be honest, I probably wouldn't do it normally, but just for demonstration purposes, let's do that. And let's check the exciter here. This might do something too. Okay, and we can use the bypass to see what exactly we're doing. Did this really change it, or am I just fooling myself? I can hear it. It's giving a little bit more energy and more width. So let's leave it there. Now, I really like to increase the width on the high end. So let's solo this and let's try to make this wider. And you see there, I can use the widening here, but that's probably a bit too much. I'll just increase the delay width. Okay, there you have it. So now we'll do it before and after with the bypass again and hear how this sounds. So to me, it sounds like this just kind of took a blanket over the blanket off over the speaker here with this on. So just by doing a little bit of this, I think it just cleared things up. Now we can do a little bit more here too. As you see the bottom, okay, we have the different crossovers here that we can adjust. But another thing you can adjust that you may not have noticed is we can adjust the volume of these too. So sometimes I think, you know what, this is a little bit muddy. These lower mids, let's pull these down like this. I want to leave the bass alone, but let's move down the lower mids a bit. I'll play it and I'll let you listen to what it does. Yeah, so since this is on a full band mix, I don't want to do too much, but just pull it down. I think it's like 1.5, 1.6 here. And let's try a little bit on our treble too, just to make it a little bit brighter. Maybe you don't want to do this, but let's just try to do this for demonstration purposes. So this should just make it pop more and make it more in your face, get rid of some of that mud. Let's do another before and after. There we go. I think this is sounding a lot more in your face and brighter and more, what I want. So, of course, you can use some of these global controls if you want to, but I think doing this individually, especially on a big mix, sounds better. Now, one other thing you can do with this that you may not have noticed is here you see this. By default, it's doing the left and right channel, but we can also separate this mid and side to hear the different information on the different channels. So this will be just our mids. So you can do that to check to see like, okay, what's my mid signal sounding like? Is there any phasing? Can you hear all the instruments that you need to hear in the middle? And then you can do the same thing with the side like this. I think that's sounding much better. If you don't like this analog crossover, which is, I believe, minimum phase, you can change this to linear phase. I think the analog LP is also linear phase too, but I'll switch between those so you can hear what they sound like. So I'm not hearing too much of a difference there, but it might depend on your track or what you want. You can obviously switch between those. Keep in mind though, the linear phase is probably going to add some latency. So if you're doing this while you're recording, which I don't know why you would be doing that, but just keep that in mind. So that's something you can do. So by doing this, there's a lot of like interesting and kind of fun things. I don't know, maybe just general making your mix sound better things you can do with this. And I solo this and use the bypass, but you can bypass them one by one. So that way you can make sure like, am I doing the right thing with the high channel like this? So that way, if you find there's maybe a problem, you can find out which band is actually causing the problem or which band is making it sound better. So I just wanted to show you this because I think people oftentimes overlook MStereoprocessor, but it's actually kind of a secret tool you can use to just enhance your mix and make it sound better. And you can put this on your master track. You can use it while you're mastering or whatever you want, just to kind of give your track that little extra oomph. But of course, you can also try this on, individual instruments if you want to. You can probably do some cool stuff with that there too. So if you like this, give me a thumbs up, leave me any questions or comments down below, and check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Till next time, see you.